What's good, gun family? Urban Gun Reviews, and today on the channel I'm going to have a discussion about 5 things that you should consider when buying your first firearm. Let's go. Now, one thing that you should consider, and this one might be a hard one for people to really grasp the concept of it, but are you mature enough to handle a firearm? And I don't mean handle it physically, I mean the mental aspect of handling firearms. A lot of people get firearms and they're so intrigued about it that they let the safety aspect of the firearm go out the window. They let the keep my family safe, keep myself safe, and the logic of having a firearm go out the window. So they're showing it everywhere, not taking proper maintenance of your firearm, not safety checking it all the time, stuff like that. And you have to be mentally able to do that and to keep a firearm, to have a firearm. You got to be mentally stable. You wouldn't want somebody who isn't mentally prepared to have a firearm. First time somebody cut them off in traffic, they hanging out the window shooting. The first time that somebody pisses them off, they shooting at them. The first time that or anytime, any small situation, and you ready to shoot somebody. That's not what having a firearm and carrying a firearm is about. Carrying a firearm is really about protection. It's about protecting my family, protecting myself. And some people would say protecting your belongings as well, which could be a thing, but belongings are things that you can get back. So if somebody takes something of yours, you can get that back. If somebody takes a family member's life or your life or something, you can't get that back. So that's why I put those 2 in it, but some people would add the 3rd one into the mix as well. Number 2, what do you need a firearm for? And that's a question that everybody should be asking themselves. What is the purpose of me having a firearm? And the purpose that I had to get a firearm was always protection. I wanted to be protected at all times. I was living in not the greatest of neighborhoods at the time when I first started carrying guns, and I felt like I needed it for protection to go to and from wherever I was going. So may it be from my house to go to work, if it was be to my house to go somewhere else, to visit somebody, a family member's house, a friend's house. I felt like I needed protection. I was on public transportation at the time. This is like almost 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago. I was on public transportation at the time, and there was just too many situations that I could have been in that I could have got, and no fault of my own really, and not even really being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Somebody could have just tried to target me and tried to rob me or hurt me or something like that, just being out and about. So that's the reason why I wanted my first firearm. I needed it for protection. I felt like it was something that I wanted to be able to have in case I needed it, rather than need it and not ever have one. So I wanted to be able to just protect my home. I was living in an apartment building, but like I said, it wasn't the best neighborhood at the time. So I wanted to be able to protect, my family at the time. So that was my purpose of getting a firearm. So you gotta come up with your purpose or whatever you think is or feel is your reason to get a firearm. If you want to get one just because I want to have a gun, okay, but again, it goes back to step 1, or the first thing I talked about is, are you mentally capable of having a firearm? Are you mentally mature enough to have a firearm? If you can say yes to that, then if you just want a gun just to have a gun, that's fine. I'm not going to take that away from anybody, but I would just say have a reason that you want a gun. So even if it's, oh, I just want one, then get your gun. You know what I mean? Reason number 3 would be, if you plan on carrying a firearm, you have to decide on a holster to carry, so you can carry in a safe way. And if you want it for home protection, where you want to keep it. Okay, those are 2 things that you need to consider in this situation, because you don't want to have a gun that you're just carrying in your pocket with no holster. I've done that when I first started carrying guns. I didn't have a holster. I thought holsters were like lame. I thought they were for cops and stuff like that. So I didn't want a holster. I was carrying my gun in my pocket. I had a 45 ACP I put in my pocket, or I put in my waistline most times. You know, and that's your choice, of course. I'm not going to tell you need a holster. They're not 100% needed, but it's the safe and, to me, the more responsible way to carry a firearm. You know, so if you're planning on carrying it, being every day, you know, got a gun on you, I would suggest get a holster. If you plan on keeping it at your house, how are you planning on keeping it safe? If you have kids, you got to put that into consideration. If you got random people in your house, you got to consider that. You want to put your firearm somewhere where you can get it in the case that you need it. You want to put it to somewhere that anybody else can't get it in case they want it. You know, so if you have small children or children in the house in general, you probably want to have a safe. In either situation, I think you should probably have a safe or somewhere safe to put it. You know, you got to think, if you're worried about home invasions or something, you don't want to have your gun, you know, way across your bedroom, and, you know, you're in bed and somebody come in, and if you happen to hear it too late, you don't have the time to go across the room to, you know, get your firearm. You want to have it in, you know, proximity to where you can just wake up and notice or hear something, and you can just grab it and go defend your house and your family and stuff like that. That's another thing that I'm worried about. Not worried about safes, but, you know, if you have a safe and say your safe isn't in your room, or say your safe is on a different level of your house, and somebody comes in through one level of your house, you're in your bedroom, it's on the top level, somebody comes in the bottom level, so you got your intruder in between you and your firearm. So again, placement is key when we're talking about where you're going to store your firearm. You don't want to have it somewhere where you can't get to it if you need it. If you in the kitchen cooking with, you know, your family or something, and somebody come in your front door and your gun is in a different room, you have to be able to get to it. That's why I made a video. I'll put the card up here. I think I still have it on my channel. Is, should you carry your firearm while you're in the house? During waking hours, if I'm up around the house, I'm carrying my firearm because I don't want to have to run and get my firearm in case somebody was to try to run into my house or something like that. I want to keep it on me at all times so I can defend myself, my family, and everything if somebody was to try to run up in my house. So make sure that you consider those things. So consider getting a holster if you plan on carrying it on your person every day. Consider where you're going to put it and a good location to put it when if you're keeping it at home. If it's just for home defense, you don't plan on carrying it and stuff like that. Think about those things before you get your firearm. Number 4, this might be difficult for some people to really come up with a answer for this one, and to me personally, I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer to it. And the question is, what caliber do you want to carry? Now, when I said there's not a right or wrong answer to it, that's because there's not a right or wrong answer to it. It's really your preference. Me personally, I like the 9mm round. I keep the 9mm round wherever I keep it in my house, you know, for protection. I carry a 9mm round. I believe that 9mm round, the 9mm round, could be or is a great defensive round. You can get better penetrating 9mm rounds. You can get you know, just a whole bunch of different rounds. You can get just target shooting rounds. So I believe that the 9mm round is perfect for me. You might not feel that same way. You might just have a shotgun in your home for home protection, something that you don't take out, you know, so you might be like, all right, I got a shotgun in the house. There's still the issue of what kind of round you're gonna put in that shotgun, and you have to think about certain different factors when it comes to home defense. You got to think about over penetration, so you don't want to you know, shoot your intruder, and whatever you shoot them with goes through the wall and possibly goes outside to a neighbor's house or hits somebody else inside your house, that, you know, family member that you didn't want to hit, the dog or whoever. You don't want that. So you got to think about over penetration. That's with any caliber that you have. Some, 9mm, I don't think you're going to have that issue, depending on what kind of walls you have. If you have like paper thin walls, then you got to think about that too. So that's why personally I don't think that 7.62 rounds, the 5.56, 223, 308s, all them high caliber, rifle rounds and stuff like that. To me, they're a great round, but for home defense, is where I'm wary about it a little bit, because I don't want to over penetrate my target and possibly hurt somebody else that I didn't want to hurt. So definitely think about what round you want to carry in your weapon, whether it's for home defense or whether it's for EDC and stuff like that. You got to do your research on it and think about what you got. You got a brick house, you might be like, hey, I'm good for its penetration, because most I don't think I'm going to over penetrate through the brick concrete walls of my house and go outside and stuff like that. Definitely think about that and consider that when buying a firearm. And number 5 should have been number 1 to me. Now, if y'all know what that is, put that in the comment section if you know what song, what legendary rapper, and what song that come from. But number 5 is as important to me as number 1, and that is, are you willing to invest in training with your firearm? And not a lot of people invest the time in training and other things that go along with training, learning your firearm. People buy guns and they just carry it, or they buy guns and they don't train with shooting it, they don't clean it, they don't break it down, they don't do all of these things that help you when it comes to having a firearm. You got to know your firearm inside and out. I'm not saying you got to be able to hang upside down blindfolded and take it apart like Major Payne. I ain't saying all that. But I'm saying you should know how to field strip your weapon. You should know how to clean your weapon. You should know how to drop the mag. You should know how to clear a jam. You should know, what rounds to put in your firearm. You should know how to hold your firearm. You should know all of these things. There's a ton of things that you should know about your firearm. You can never be too knowledgeable about your firearm. Learn everything about it. If it takes watching YouTube videos and learning from that and building off that, then that's what it is. You should probably take some safety courses, find a reputable trainer, not anybody, a reputable trainer, somebody on a gun safety course, take a couple courses, learn some things, hit the range up maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, something like that. You should be training with your firearm, because you don't want to be in a situation where you don't know what to do with your firearm. If you go to rack around and you get a jam and you don't know how to clear it, and somebody's a couple feet down the hallway and you can't get to, you don't know how to clear this jam and stuff like that. You have to be able to work in these situations. This is going to be one of the most stressful situations possibly in your life, and you got milliseconds to make it happen, and your life might depend on it, your family's life might depend on it, whoever's life might depend on it. You have to properly invest in training. Training is just as important as the firearm you have. The firearm is a tool. You must learn how to use that tool. If you don't learn how to use it properly, then you probably won't be successful in most situations. I'm not saying you won't get lucky, even though I don't believe in luck, but you might not make it out that situation if you don't train properly with your firearm. So that's a major thing to me. Definitely learn your firearm. And another thing is, if you have family in your house, train your family as well, because it's no good for you to have a firearm or have firearms in the house if your family is not trained in using them as well. If you're not home, you gonna stay home all the time? Probably not. So what happens if you're at work, you're out on a business trip, you're out doing something, wherever, you at the booty club, and your wife at home, your kids are at home, somebody breaks into the house. I know dad got guns in the house, but I don't know how to use it. I'm just gonna point and shoot. No. Train your family how to use the gun. It's just as much as you need training, they need training as well. So therefore, they can protect themselves and protect the house as well. I can't stress that enough to keep everybody trained in your house. Your family's only as strong as the weakest trained person in your house. So if you got somebody who's just not strong at all, and it comes down to them saving y'all lives, you might be asked out because that person's not trained. That kid's not trained. That wife's not trained. The mother-in-law's not trained. Whoever's living in your house should be trained in using that firearm. But again, that goes back to being mentally ready to use firearms. If you got somebody who's a little immature and not ready to be, trained to use firearms, then you take that into consideration. Like, all right, I know little Billy right there, he crazy than him. I'm not gonna give little Billy the firearm and let him train with it because he ain't ready for that. So make sure that your kids are mature, and whoever's training, however you plan on getting training for your firearms, are mature enough to handle it. All right. But it's Urban Gun Reviews. I like doing these discussion type videos. If y'all like these type of videos, let me know in the comment section. If you're not following me, hold up, let me take it back. If you like this video or you felt like you learned something from this video, let me know by clicking the thumbs up and let me know in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you can do that by clicking on my icon in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. If you're not following me on all social media sites, all that information is in the description. And until next time, gun family, stay blessed, stay strapped.